Well, how they got out to Washington from Ohio by rail, then steamer from San Francisco to Olympia. Then evidently they say they walked to Seattle. Then Granddad, David L. McCormick, bought him and 5 other men, purchased a rowboat in Seattle and rowed to Lake Honor. But they were all heading for the Nooksack for gold claims, but he liked it so well he came right back. And then he just struck out a claim here. But he was in a business for a while with a Chilberg at a livery stable. But I guess then's when he got the claim for 160 acres out here.
Excellent.
And then Granddad, he purchased some stuff at sheriff sales, and it's all cash dealings and things. Because I've got some handwritten deeds where at a sale he was high bidder for 10,000 plus cash deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then Grandpa George has lived in the same house ever since. I mean,
Same plot, yeah, same piece of property.
where you grew up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna move these. It's too cheesy.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's where
Same plot.
the big house. Yeah, right there.
Oh, okay.
And then the house that's there now, I lived in, and Dad had built,
Okay.
and that was built in '37.
But it's all in the same exact same place.
Yeah. The other house was back toward where the shop is,
Oh, okay.
but this was built right where John Lund built it. The house that Granddad had and Dad had, that burned in right after Christmas of '36. So it burned in January '37. And God, they lost everything. I mean, the house was on fire upstairs, and Mom was getting ready to go to Mount Vernon right after lunch. And Dad come running in the house and says, the house is on fire upstairs. And Mom goes to the phone. Mrs. Downey was on the phone, party line. She said, get off the phone. And Mom told her, this is Mrs. McCormick, my house is on fire. So she hung up. And then some of the neighbors come flying in, and 2 or 3 of the neighbors came in, and they started grabbing stuff. Some of the kitchen stove was still hot, and those guys didn't even think of it. They ripped it right out of the wall because it had hot water pipes going to it. They just ripped everything out and carried it outside without even thinking. And then the Connor Fire Department came out, and they had to chop a hole in the ice, which a little slough was right by the house there. It's filled in now. Because like I say, it was January, cold. Right after Christmas, and they stuck me out by the barn in a car. And I was just been a good boy. I got a Christmas present I've been aching for. Little wooden barn and some cattle in my barn and animals. And I was crying in the car, so I got out and started back toward the burning house, and some fireman yelled at me. He said, get back in the car, and God, I want my barn and animals. Well, I got back in the front seat and laying over the back at the top of the front seat and looked down, and here it was on the floor and back. I don't even know who put it in there. But that's about all I remember that day. I remember my sister came home on the school bus, and she was surprised as heck what had happened. But as far as that day goes, I can't remember. We lived in we went up to Uncle Art and Aunt Vernie's for a while, but Dad had to come and milk, so we fixed something at what was a part of the garage then, and we lived in there for a while.
Oh, okay. Wow. And then, what year did you buy this house you live in now?
51.
51.
Put that in a
2 years after
complete sentence.
I got out of high school.
Yeah, put that in a complete sentence for me instead of I bought this house in 1951.
Well, Dad had bought it.
Okay, say that.
Dad bought this out from Will Jennings in 1951. And then I moved into it. And I was living up the road in a little shack, renting from my uncle for $12 a month. And then that froze up the first winter, so we lived with my in-laws, George and Nadine Path, upstairs in their house for a while. Then we went back to this little shack and lived for a while, and then we finally got a hold of this one.
Excellent.
And I've been here since '51.
So you were 21 at that time.
Yeah, well, I was still 20. I wasn't 21 till December.
That's a nice age to buy a house. Now, what was your first job you remember having out of high school?
Oh, out of high school?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I had my own cows and I worked at home a lot. But I remember doing hay in season. I drove fork-horse for the loose hay, it was always, and did it at our place. Then we worked with Jennings, drove fork-horse there. Then down at Robin Flags, we farmed with them. I was always the fork-horse driver. Then old Roland Lockhart had a little dab of hay. Well, he didn't have a horse, so he used his milk truck, and he was hard of hearing, so I rode in the back of the milk truck. When the guys in the mile hollered, "Whoa!" I'd holler up to the front of the truck, and holler, "Whoa!" And then roll your stop and back the truck up again. And I made 50 cents an hour then.
Big money.
I got 25 cents an hour from Art and Ring too, picking up cabbage steaks and putting them in bundles of 25.
Wow. So then, what was your next job? When did you start working at Zimmerman Shell?
Oh, that was in '60. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I just done different. I was a laborer for a while when the refineries were built in '55.
I remember Mike and I driving your truck at age 5 while you spread pea juice over Dunlap Towing.
Oh, remember? Oh,
Yeah, we steer the truck up front and
yeah.
you set it on idle and we just go. Yeah, I remember that.
Just settle the dust. I remember that old
Yeah.
stuff out of the cannery. Oh, God.
Yeah. So when did you start driving the truck?
Well, then I was already, that would be in the '65. I was working for Puget Sound then.
Yeah.
And this was after work job. But before that, like I say, in '55, as I was a laborer when the refineries the first one was being built.
Oh, I hear.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
$2.25 an hour,
Wow.
$2.40 an hour if you run a jackhammer, and you work Saturdays $2.40 an hour.
Wow.
18, 19 bucks a day?
Well, I don't remember what it was, but yeah, that was good money then.
Yeah.
Oh, it was quite a thing. That was quite a boost to the economy, because there was electricians, truck drivers, and teamsters. God, they were making about $4 an hour. Well, God, we never heard of anything like that.
Wow. So, but your longest job sounds like it was Puget Sound.
Puget Sound, yeah.
So, okay, cool. So, how old were you? Actually, let me ask this question. Which one came first? Raising ducks or hunting ducks?
Well, it was close to the same time. I started in '44 hunting, but I think for my birthday in '44, the folks bought me a pair of old barnyard mallards from George Peth. I think it's all happened about the same time. And then for years I stayed with domestic types, ducks and geese.
Muscovies or what are they called?
Oh, Muscovies and pecans and buff orpingtons and runner ducks, and I had Toulouse geese and Emdens. Oh gosh, it was fun. But I also started raising kids right after that too.
So, how did you become interested in raising waterfowl?
I haven't. Well, we had that slough right by the house, and we'd see cinnamon teal in there in the spring, and we'd see bufflehead in there in the winter. And right after season, we'd see mallards in there, and I was like, gee whiz, I'd like to catch them and have a pair of them penned up. And I was always interested. I got a bird book then, and started looking at ducks, and gee whiz, that looks interesting. But I had pheasants for a while too, but that was a little more maintenance because they had to be, each variety had to be isolated because the roosters would fight. Oh. But God, I've raised these waterfowl for years.
Yeah.
Then in about little bit in the late 60s, I went into the wild varieties first. I bought some Canada geese. That's where I got my honker nickname, because that's all I could talk about was my baby honkers. And then wood ducks, and then I went into different things, and that's about the way we are.
Should we pause?
Try 'em all.
Okay. Okay. What would you say is the rarest ducks you've ever had?
Rarest? Well, let's see.
Medium rare? No.
The rarest ducks. Well, I've had, to me, for the American collections, I've had some from Australia, and I've had several varieties from South America, which are very interesting. And then, well, the Nene geese at one time were quite rare, but they've got them surviving now. They're a long ways from extinction now.
And
But-
you not only raised ducks, but you also raised a variety of different kinds of birds. What were some of those birds?
Well, I had several different kinds of pheasant for a while, you know, silvers, pheasant, golden, Amherst, the ringnecks, the black mutants, but they were tough, like I say, they're fighting all the time. I had checker partridge, guineas.
Oh, I remember those waking me up every morning.
Yeah, I had to have all that stuff.
I remember the prettiest bird you've ever had.
Those peafowl?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Remember we used to go out and get the big feathers.
yeah.
That was cool. What's the farthest you've ever shipped any of your birds to other collectors?
New
New Hampshire. Wow.
I sent a couple to a young girl back there, and they sent pictures later on. They had them, wood ducks and mandarin, they had them tamed down, they had them eaten out of their hand, sitting on their shoulder.
Wow.
And their dad was very happy because I shipped them on a Monday, and they usually get them early Wednesday. Well, they didn't get them Wednesday. They called me. I said, well, I'll call the post office. And he called Thursday morning, and they got them. So the post office relinquished the shipping part. So I told the guy, you can tell your daughter she just saved $55 because the shipping was free.
Wow.
So he was really happy, and like I say, they sent pictures for a while. Probably by now, the girls have all grown up. Maybe they don't even have them anymore. But I still have their address and the pictures they sent me.
That's neat.
Yeah, we're still rolling.
But I've sent a lot of ducks to Minnesota, though, to this wildlife park. I've done a lot of dealing with them.
Okay. Excellent. So, are you the beginning of the Mccormick hunting guys, or was your dad a hunter?
No, my dad didn't hunt. His brother had a 20 gauge that he loaned to Dad to shoot widgeon out of the field after season. Then I bought that for $25, but I don't ever remember my uncle hunting, but he might have done it when he was younger. But Dad never hunted, and I don't ever remember him talking about Granddad hunting on the McCormick side.
So, kind of started, the madness started with you.
Yeah, I finally got it. Yeah.
So, it's definitely, so, what was the most unique duck or even bird that you've ever harvested or hunted?
Hunted, most unique?
Yeah.
Well,
Rarest?
I've never shot anything that would be called rare. I've just shot a lot of the North American things and a lot of different diving ducks.
You ever shot a harlequin?
One.
One, excellent.
I shot one once in like the early 50s, and I never needed to shoot another one.
Is that it?
Yeah.
What about scoters?
Oh, we shot a lot of them up at the Bellingham Trestle.
Okay.
We'd bring them back and give them to this one guy over on the res, and he'd trade us for bottles of homemade wine.
Oh wow.
Yeah, can you push that blue napkin out? Just
No.
so it's even on the floor. I don't care. Doesn't make any sense.
Perfect.
Okay.
So you've shot all the three different kinds of teal that I can think of that are
Yeah.
native. The blue wing, green wing, and cinnamon.
Cinnamon, yeah, I've got all them.
Excellent. And you've got wood ducks before?
Yeah, wood ducks. I shot one wood duck once, and I didn't need to shoot another one.
Okay. Excellent. So we've seen, and I think I'll ask Mike to get some footage here in a little bit, but we've seen your ability to track the different ducks that you've shot and photo pretty much every kill ever made. So, but have you ever counted how many different birds you've shot over the years?
Oh, I got a
Types
list.
of birds?
Yeah, I got a list somewhere I took several years ago.
Okay.
It's probably in one of my books.
We'll take a look at that. We'll get some footage of the spreadsheet a little bit later. So,
Well, this while we're here.
Yeah.
Why? You can talk to Dave. Why did you keep track of all those?
I don't know. It was just, I didn't have to brag. Some guys would come to school and say, oh, we shot 30 ducks the next. Oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And you find out they got 4 or 5. So if I only got 4 or 5, I told him. I never had to brag or make up a story. I either did good or not good, and I knew what I shot every time, too.
excellent. Yeah, help me out as we go along because you
Yeah.
know this. But
If you ask them yes or no questions, you get yes or no answers. If you ask them why or expand on that, then that's how you get the good stuff.
oh, okay, okay, good. So, so we're gonna also take a look at different collections of shells, shell boxes.
Mm-hmm.
We can't really look at guns, but for our personal footage, how many guns do you think you own?
Right now, well, I had almost 40.
We'll leave this out of anything that goes public.
Yeah.
Almost 40.
Almost 40.
And how many of those have not been shot before?
Half of them, 21.
How many of those have a DU stamp in them?
But all but 2 or 3. All but 2 or 3.
And those are range from Berettas to Remingtons to
Yeah,
Winchesters.
rifle, yeah, Benellis, Berettas, Brownings, yeah.
Most of those would be
We-
auction winnings.
Yeah, a lot of Winchesters.
Wow.
Well, actually, more Remingtons.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just hunting guns. That's what I'm
Yeah.
doing.
What's your fascination with shotguns and whatnot?
Well, I don't know. I like looking at shotguns because that's something I use. I don't really care much about looking at deer rifles because I've never studied scopes or different loads for rifles. I look at loads for shotguns. I know what I want for ducks, what I want for geese, things like that. But I just, say you can win this rifle. Well, it'd be pretty to mount on the wall, but I would never buy any ammunition for it
Right.
because I don't know. But I don't want to shoot some of my shotguns either. They're still brand new in the box. But you'll probably end up with some of them anyway.
Well, Brian probably will.
Is that beyond me?
Yeah.
We'll talk later.
Yeah.
So, you obviously have a passion for ducks and geese, waterfowl. How many different organizations related to hunting do you belong to or contribute to?
Okay, now we got to get the fingers out here because there's Ducks Unlimited. It was Pheasant Forever mostly. IWWA, which is International Wild Waterfowl Association. Washington Waterfowl Association. Oh, there's another one I can't think of it. There's locals. Well, I say Ducks Unlimited. I think I did. Oh God, who do I? Oh, the Whittington NRA Whittington Center. NRA. Oh, that's a question I should have studied up on, because there's quite a few things there was.
Many of them. And
Yeah.
One time, were you an actual sponsor of the DU?
DU, I'm a life sponsor.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does that mean to be a life sponsor?
Well,
Put your hand
you
down.
you can spend more money. You can get in these sponsor raffles, but it costs more money, and you might win another gun.
Excellent.
I won 3 of them one night.
Wow.
But you just never know, you know.
We'll take some footage a little bit of some of your shotgun shell
Yeah.
collection and
Oh,
box
yeah.
collection. But right now, let's move on to your hats.
Oh, my hats.
How did your hat collection get started?
I don't know what it was. Pretty soon I had 2 or 3 hats. Then one day I remember I had them I had 17. And I laid them on the living room floor in front of me and just looked. My God, is there an end to it? And pretty soon at one of my big truck drivers' party, I'd get 30 or 40 that weekend. And then I'd find them on the road, and guys would find them and bring them to me. And one guy went to this restaurant, and he saw a bunch on the hat rack, and he told the waitress, I left a hat here the other day. I come to, well, she said, take the one you want. And so he took them all.
Was
But
that one of the guys that came to all the barbecues?
yeah.
Was that Jim or somebody?
No, this is, well, Ed, his name was. But I just couldn't get enough. Then when that tavern in Burlington sold out, they tried to sell them, and nobody wanted to bid on them. So he called me up, and I went up there with garbage cans and step ladders and garbage bags, and I got about 2,400 from there. But, oh, they smelled bad of smoke and all that. I had to wash them all. I just put, 20 or 30 in the wash machine at a time, then have to get them dry, put a dryer, hang them out in the sunshine on a rope.
Yeah.
And then I gained about 1,400 out of the 24.
And the rest were used for.
Trading stock, or some of them stunk so bad, and some.
Yeah.
Well, I got a lot of squadron hats from Whidbey Island,
Oh, neat.
and I got hats from different parts of the world. Then guys sent me hats from different parts of the world. I got one from President Marcos golf tournament, 1980, that a guy brought me back. He was in the Merchant Marine, and he located it somewhere. And I got just all over Alongapo City, Danish trout mix thing. I've got it from Norway, Sweden, Japan, just Mexico.
Around the world.
Oh gosh, yes.
That's interesting. Now, as of today, what is the official count?
Well, the shop has 5,900 in it. That's the ceiling and the walls, and there's no more place to put them. But I've got over 1,000 in boxes. And that's not I hate to, you just don't get to display them. So, but if somebody gives me a little bag of hats, I keep them because it's something to wear a new one each time. Oh, where'd you get that, and hats from everywhere. And they're always coming out with new ones. So it's endless.
It's endless.
I either-
What is the grand total you would say you're at?
Well, probably 7,000.
Okay.
Because I got almost, I got 6,000. You might say 5,900 plus over 1,000, so it'd be probably at 7,000.
And that's not including your trading stock either, is it?
No, I don't even know what I got there. Oh.
And how often do you receive hats nowadays?
Well, a couple of months ago, I got about 30 in a bag. Or somebody will give me, you need some hats? Well, or something. I got some brand new ones. Well, sure, I'll take them. I got to wear something. Because once they go up on the walls, they're there.
So, what was your goal with these hats? To try to wear one every day?
Try to get one more than that next guy had. That was,
That's excellent. I heard a story one time that you actually pulled over your 18-wheeler to pick up a hat you saw on the freeway. Is that true?
it wasn't a freeway. It was a county road. Yeah,
Is that right?
yeah. Gosh, there was room to pull over, and he looked pretty nice.
So that's not gonna do us any good, because I don't have your voice on,
Oh, okay.
so you see what I'm saying?
Okay, so tell me, we're going to repeat this, but we're going to do the whole. Tell me
Tell me about the story when you pulled over and picked up that.
yeah,
Oh yeah, well,
you were driving along?
yeah. It was on a county road. It wasn't heavy travel. But I saw this hat, and there was a place to pull over, because I didn't want to cause any trouble, and it looked pretty nice. So I pulled over and threw the blinkers on and run back and got it. And I've done that several times in my pickup. One of the greatest ones I ever got like that, just driving out of Lake Honor one day, just about where the new fire hall is, had on the road. So I pulled over, and it was from St. Andrews Golf Course, is where golf first started in Scotland. Now somebody must have bought a treasure back or something and left it on the side of the car or the roof or something, because I got it now on my walls. It was St. Andrews.
Wow.
Well, Larry fished one out of the bay in Frisco one time off their tug. It blew off a guy's head, and it was from the World Soccer Tournament. I forget what year, though. And that's hanging on the wall, too.
Excellent. So, tell me about the first instrument you ever learned how to play. The first instrument I ever learned how to play. So start with that sentence.
My first instrument was a trumpet, and I was about the 7th grade. And I wanted to play, and it only had 3 keys. I didn't want a saxophone or a clarinet, my gosh. But gosh, I liked it. So for Christmas that year, my folks bought me a cornet, which is just a shorter version. But I really liked it. And I always played first trumpet, and nobody ever had to tell me to practice, because I liked it. And when I was in 8th grade, I got to play in the high school band. And I still got first trumpet. I couldn't hardly read second trumpet. First trumpet, you played the melody. Second, it didn't even sound like the same song. But I really stayed with that for almost all the way through high school. Then our band leader, all he wanted to do was play marches. He'd come over 2 or 3 times a week from Orcas Island. And it was just strict. If we were doing something before he got there, just practicing some little popular tune, no, he'd take his little stick out and tap on the music stand. Get your march books out, John Philip Sousa. I got so tired of that. They were good marches, but 5 years of them is quite a bit.
And then, what about guitar?
Well, we had a party one time here with a guy who had a guitar, and God, that looks interesting. So he got a piece of paper out and drew the 6 lines. Then he drew some frets, then little circles on the frets where to put finger 1, 2, and 3. And he left his guitar for a couple of weeks for me to hammer around with. It was pretty horrible. You change your fingers and bling, bling, then change them again and bling. And pretty soon he got I can change them now without looking. It took a while, but it was just for parties. And I got a little more bolder, so I'd take them to parties. And it didn't make any difference. You made a mistake. The more you drank, the better I sounded. And that's the way I got through with it.
Excellent. Tell us about Big Mac and the 4 Little Macs?
Well, that was just when Darrell, Larry, Sharon, and Gail were growing up, and I had a guitar, and Darrell had one. He was in his bedroom practicing all the time, putting on a 78 record of Chet Atkins. And we went out the first few times, I was the only guitar.
Let's,
Go ahead.
let's stop.
Yeah, and start off your answer with, well, the Big Macs and the Little Macs, that was
Oh.
Yeah. So tell me how the Big Mac and 4 Little Macs got started. That beeper caused the problem. So let's go ahead.
Well, we were just the McCormicks, and my mom and dad belonged to the Grange. They had us come over there, and then we went to different Grange halls. They thought it was fun. Then one year, the McLean Road Fire Hall had us come up there for their Christmas dinner or something, and they didn't know how to introduce us. So one guy said, "Well, here's Big Mac and the 4 Little Macs," and that's how we got that. And by then, Darrell was playing guitar too. And we had our regular songs we sang, and we sang 100 and sometimes in 2 or 3 years. And everybody got tired of it but me. And you would drive somewhere and they'd give you $3 for gas, or you'd go somewhere else and they'd give you a sandwich and a cookie or something. It wasn't a real money maker, but people liked our music, so.
Good. Tell me about one of the most famous people you've ever worked with in the music industry.
Well, oh God. Well, we played at Mount Vernon once. They had Will Rogers Jr. there on a show. But we were just local talent, it was called. And he put on a show with his dancers and things like that. I forget what year that was, back in the 60s. And that's about as famous as we got. We was down at the World Fair there one day played. And that was supposed to have been exciting, but I don't think we really cared because they had Elvis Presley there at the same time, so he didn't ask if he could join in.
So I definitely want to get some footage of his songbook. I think everything's organized out there. So, what year did you join? Actually, start off the sentence. I joined the Old Time Fiddlers.
I've got 8 years in, so this is
I have 8 years in with.
the Old Time Fiddlers, Washington Old.
Start from the very
Full
beginning.
sentence there.
We need full sentences.
Okay, well, I've got 8 years in now with the Washington Old Time Fiddlers, still playing guitar. That's guitars are loud and mandolins and all that. And we play several times a month. All over. Well, the first Friday of every month, we go to the Oak Harbor Senior Center. The second Friday is Mount Vernon Senior Center. Then in between then, there's Mira Vista and different Alpine Ridge, Burlington Senior Center. Then on the fourth Friday, we're back at Mount Vernon Senior Center. Then Mira Vista, and then, oh gosh, I'm probably missing some, but we got a calendar. It's a busy calendar. We're District 4, and we cover Whatcom, Skagit Island, and San Juan. And they're busy up there in Whatcom County. They have a lot of playouts that we don't. But we don't bother to go up there. They got enough guys up there. But it's fun.
Why do you play with the Old Time Fiddlers?
Well, I was asked to come and play music, but when we go to the rest homes, these people enjoy that. Bringing back some of the old songs that some of them that people remember. And then every now and then I come up with a funny song, and these old people still like to laugh. So, and there's a lot of wonderful cowboy songs that I haven't sung because the cowboy is always losing his girlfriend or his horse died. But they're good old cowboy songs. But I like to sing some lively songs that I don't know, every musician has his own pet songs, and I got mine, I guess.
Excellent. How many decoys do you have?
Well,
How many decoys?
I've got about 110 decoys in the house. Most of them came from Ducks Unlimited banquets. And actually, yeah, the big bulk of them did. And it's just a passion. I've got just over 100 prints hanging on the walls in the house, and I can't hardly buy any more. I don't have any wall space left.
Are
But-
those mainly Ducks Unlimited?
They're
prints?
mainly, yeah.
So those are mainly Ducks Unlimited?
Yeah, they're mainly Ducks Unlimited. And I got a couple from other places, you know, but they're ones I bought because I enjoyed them. And I've also had quite a few given to me. People don't need them or want them, and they thought, well, it's a good place to get rid of them. So I'll find a place for them on the wall.
Yeah.
Not to mention, you also honor a local artist, former local artist, David Hagebaumer.
Oh, yeah. I got 14 or more of Hagebaumer prints. He's given me a couple for a birthday present, and I really like them. But I like all of his prints. And then I got some that are not associated with DU, but Laurie Wells, and he was a cousin of my mom's. And he did a lot of painting of things in this county. He was pretty well known. But he did a lot of scenery, things like that. But he painted a picture for each one of my kids. I think your pictures are still hanging in a duck for each of you. Daryl got a deer. Sharon got some flowers. Gail got a duck. I think Larry got a duck flying. Or so, yeah. He did one for all the kids.
Excellent.
You want to ask something?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, we talked about your bird collection. You don't have any idea how many birds you have out there?
Oh, close to 100, but it fluctuates.
And so, what do you do in your spare time?
In my spare time,
What would that be, spare time? Well,
let me ask you this. How do you start off every morning?
cup of coffee.
Nope, I start off every morning.
Oh, I start off every morning with a cup of coffee and a piece of chocolate cake for my early morning breakfast. And then, it's not the most healthy thing, but people are always giving me hell because it's not healthy, but here I am, still here. Then I go out and do the main things, make sure everybody's out there fed and happy. Then I go to town for coffee because it tastes better than home coffee. But no, it's actually more fun picking up all that knowledge from all these guys. But by the time I get home, I've forgotten most of it anyway. Then I come home and do the rest of my chores, tidy up, and there's things to do, maybe mow the lawn or move birds around. It's just busy. Now this time of the year, like in the summer, there's baby birds to fool with. And after they're all graduated and growing up, then everything is easier again. But
You say you go to Mount Vernon Cafe, is it, and meet? Tell me about I go to the Mount Vernon Cafe every morning and meet with a group of.
yeah, I go to the Mount Vernon Cafe every morning with the same groups there all the time. There's commercial fishermen, retired fishermen, yeah, and we hear all different kinds of stories, all about Alaska, and I've never been there. And the main part is, to shake dice and we can beat somebody out for a free cup of coffee. That's why we go for it. That's it. And sometimes there's 8, 10, 12 guys, and sometimes it's real skimpy. There's only 3 or 4. And sometimes there's so many we have to sit in the booth next to us. We have to pass the dice over there and hope they're honest while they're shaking. But it's just a big fun thing. A lot of world problems are solved.
Okay. This next sentence I'd like you to say, when it comes.
Well, yeah. When it comes to playing cribbage like you thought, I was a pretty good cribbage player. I am a pretty good cribbage player. But the lady I play with, I don't like to mention any names really. I think her name is Sally though. But she keeps saying she learned from her grandfather. And I think he taught her to cheat, because I have more trouble playing cribbage with her that sometimes I don't even like the game, and other times I don't even like her. But boy, she's so lucky. I don't think she puts the fives back in the deck. She has fives every hand. But I think I see her shuffling.
Perfect.
Okay.
So Dad, would you say that you've, up till now, you've lived a pretty happy, full life?
Up even now. So
Yeah, you have, up
Yeah.
till now, have you lived
Is there-
a good life?
Well, is that a question you're asking me, or am I just...
yeah, that's a question. I mean, you got. What can you say about your life right now?
Well, it's been very interesting. As far as getting older and maybe having some ailments, that's part of getting old. I mean, I'm still up and around. I'm still doing things like we're doing right now. I still don't like to play cribbage with Sally, though. But she cheats. But, you know, I still go enjoy having coffee with the guys. I still with my birds. I mowing the lawn. I got good neighbors next side of me, and I'm ready for tomorrow. Yeah, I haven't thought about giving up yet.
Yeah. Have you thought about a new partner to move in with?
Oh, every time the cribbage, every time we play cribbage. But don't let her tell, don't hope she's outside somewhere.
You got anything? We haven't forgotten.
Okay, well, I've got 6 children and a stepson, I claim, and I've got, well, now I have 14 grandchildren then, and 13 great-grandchildren. And what else? I mean, I put up with all this, and I have Sally still here. Is she still here?
Great. Thank you for spicing the shit up.
Excuse me, it's not.
How important is family to you, Dad?
Well, I think I like them. I wish they all liked me.
Was it always a goal of yours to have, have lots of kids and have a big family, or?
Oh, no, it was just all surprises. My dad was a twin. I didn't realize it, but I had twin, but he was happy. It was 70 years in our family between twins. Grandpa, he likes you guys. Remember, you might not really remember. You were pretty little.
I remember Grandpa.
Yeah,
Grandpa George?
yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yep, and I remember big turkeys too.
Yo, that killer, that
Barn lights and all.
Oh, yeah, the windows, we had to put black paper over the house windows, the barn windows.
Let's stop right
Yeah,
there.
start with
During
it
World
was
War.
beginning
Yeah.
of World War or whatever it was.
Well, I'll tell you, the beginning of World War II, we didn't even know about it till noon that day. We never had a radio on in the house, and we went up to Bayview to a couple's house for dinner. And when they opened the door, they said, "Man, isn't this something what's happening?" And what? Well, the Japs bombed Pearl Harbor. We're at war. And we didn't know anything about it. Boy, that night we went home to milk the cows, and there was all kinds of news broadcasts. We had lights on in the barn. We had to see the milk. But right away we had to put that black paper over all the doors. And I heard a plane going over that night while we was milking. I thought it was a Jap plane coming after me. I mean, I was just scared to death. It was just 2 days after my 11th birthday. So I wasn't ready for war. Well, nobody was. But anyway, then come the blackouts and all that. Then comes the ration stamps for gas and sugar, and could have been other things. Because I liked sugar on my cereal and things, and I always used so much. So Mom gave my sister and me each a jar for sugar, and it had to last a week. And I couldn't hardly make it. I had to steal some of my sister's when she wasn't looking. But I liked sugar, lots of sugar. And there was something, other things were rationed too, I can't remember. But you had stickers on your car and truck windows for, like the farmers got A, I think, stickers for extra gas. And then there A, B, and C there was for something. And, but anyway, Mom, she spent times at these towers where their identification, there was always towers around watching for airplanes. Every time you saw one, you called in what it was, what direction it was going. They had one at school. They had one behind the house out here in the field where it was a silo, and the soldiers were living in the house, and then they were manning that tower 24 hours a day out there. And they just called in. There's a Piper Cub or something going somewhere this way. Yeah, it's. Oh yeah.
Excuse me, would you tell the story about your mom taking the picture?
Yeah. Remember one Sunday morning, it was probably in 42, early in the spring, because Dad was mowing the lawn for the first time, and it was just a push mower. And a little Piper Cub was they were coming out of Whidbey Island. It was called Clover Valley before it was named Altfield. And little Piper Cubs, and they just, you couldn't hardly hear them. And they went circling by one time, and I waved at the guys, and I hollered, "Come on down!" And they made a big circle way back out over the fields and come back and hollered, "It's too wet!" So they dropped a note. It come floating down, and I got it, and had 2 names on it. And Mom baked some cookies, and she sent it over to Whidbey Island. I don't know, they had addresses on it too, the Clover Valley. And a couple of weeks later, one night, Dad was mowing lawn again. I was outside, and here come a Navy station wagon in, and it was one of the guys. And he says, "Gosh, do you mow lawn every day?" They asked him. But we never did hear from one of the other fellas. But she'd got a picture with her camera, how you held it down in your lap, you know, to a Kodak. And she got a picture of part of the body and one wing of the little Piper Cub. I still got that in my albums here. But that was just a nice Sunday morning, and that's the first time I ever talked to somebody in an airplane, and they could hear me. Well, things were easier going. The families sat around the radio at night with special programs. And then Sunday picnics. My uncles would drive clear up from below Seattle just to come up here for a Sunday dinner. And they always had suits and ties on for Sunday dinners. And then they'd have dinner and everything. They'd smoke their cigar or something, then go home. My family's, my mother's side really, always got along. So there was 5 girls, and I had 4 aunts, and, well, 3 aunts and a mom, and 4 uncles. And that was a family, always got along. It was something that I really enjoyed. And my dad's family got together quite a bit too. So I didn't know of anything being bad about families, but since then there's been a lot of things change in this world. And it's not as nice as it was. There's more people, less courtesy on the roads, less courtesy in the malls and stores and streets. It's just push and shove, and you're in my way, and I don't know, it's changed. But I still want to get up every morning and go to town for coffee. Or go hunting in the winter, yeah. Coffee comes second in the doing duck and goose season.
So tell me about one of your best days out hunting.
Well, I don't want to criminalize myself.
That's okay. You don't have to say a number, but
No.
tell us, if you're hunting geese,
Ducks,
where, maybe, stuff
ducks.
like that. So go ahead.
Well, out back here on the 9th of December in the year I had it written down, the snow started melting on the 8th, and the 9th the ducks were ready to move, and I had a little hole dug out back. And my fingers were so cold I couldn't hardly load the gun. But I didn't want to quit. It was just ducks, ducks, ducks. There was feed. A lot of farmers still had horses, so everybody was raising oats. And they never thought of plowing in the fall and working up the ground that much. If you had cattle or horses, you pastured, you put the cattle on it for most of the winter, the horses. But we had some wonderful winters because there was food for the ducks. But boy, there were some fancy times.
Tell me about your favorite place to hunt snow geese.
Well,
My favorite place.
My favorite place to hunt snow geese is down in Maynard, Axelson Farm on Fur Island, because that is a wonderful place there, and got a little blind there that the flood made for me in 91 or 2 it was, I think. And yeah, that's one of the best places.
What does that mean that the flood made that for you? Go ahead.
Well, it washed some big logs in.
Wait a second. Beep, beep, beep,
Okay,
beep, beep. Okay. So what I mean by that, or no, say, the blind. Go ahead and start with the blind.
Well, the blind, that was built in 94 when the flood came and pushed some big logs right up into a corner of a fence, and there they stayed, and it was just perfect I made a blind right around it, had a seat and everything in there. It was like it was made for me, the log. But, that's wonderful. And it's why I've had some wonderful guys I've taken hunting with me. I like to watch guys that don't get out very often. I like to make sure they get their birds. Because I've shot a lot of birds in my life. I hunted a lot. So far I've hunted 73 years. And, but I still like to go, but if somebody goes with me, I'll make sure they get a chance. Well, the greatest thing, the 2 neighbor girls, you don't find girls want to go hunting. But Audie and Kaylin have both asked to go hunting. And both times they've got birds. And they're tickled to death. And I'm glad to see women want to hunt, because they sometimes can be our worst enemies when it comes to firearms. Not only women, but just a lot of other people. Can't mention names or anything.
Before we change others, I'd like to hear about Maynard Axelson and who he is to you, and good friend. Well, my good friend, I have a good friend. His name is Maynard, and what you guys have in common.
Well, the reason I get to hunt at Maynard's, we both raise birds. He's got a lot of real fancier ones than me. But when he goes on trips, I do his chores for him, and that helps me having a hunting place too. But I like doing his chores because he's got some real interesting birds that I don't see him unless I go to his place or see him on TV. And he does a lot of, he's one of the big shots, we got to say, in this IWWA thing. He travels different parts of the world to go to these conferences. He's one of the directors, I should say. And he's not bashful about leaving home. I am. I don't want to be gone very long at a time. So he's really got the birds, and I don't mind doing them at all because it's very interesting. Maybe the only time I'll ever see him, some of those birds, I'll never have anything like that on my place. But he's only 7 miles from me, so if I want to go look at him or...
Maynard and I have been friends for...
Oh, God, I've known him since a little kid. He was just starting out with a couple pair of ducks years ago. I don't remember how old he is. He's 60, is he 50-something?
He would be 62.
Yeah, okay, he was 62, so he was 10 or 11 or earlier when he started these things. Just a farm boy that he does a lot of things with cattle too. They used to raise some pretty nice registered Holsteins, and they had very, very good ones. And he learned how to grade cattle and everything like that, so he knows what he's doing. And yeah, he's a good place to have a friend and a place to hunt too, and close to home. I don't mind driving 7 miles. Well, anyway, Maynard is a good friend of ours, and well, we'll probably see him tomorrow. He's invited to the McCormick party.
Good friend. So you want to move on to get some,